a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Knuckles on Paramount Plus, The Veil on FX on Hulu, Baby Reindeer on Netflix, and Fallout on Prime Video.
So stay tuned to the end to find out BJ's favorite video game turned TV show.
Oh, okay. I will definitely need a little time to think about that. So while I do, can you introduce us to this Sonic spin-off TV series?
For sure. In Knuckles on Paramount Plus, we witness Knuckles, played by Idris Elba, struggling to adjust to life on Earth, and he adopts a mentee in Deputy Sheriff Wade, played by Adam Pally, to train in the ways of the Echidna warrior to help him prepare for a bowling tournament in Reno, where his estranged father will be competing.
So, Mitu, what do you think of this combo of a warrior and a bowler?
Well, that is going to war, bowling. It is a very difficult business. It is hard. Bowling is hard.
That's true. It looks easy, but it takes skill.
That's what's so tough about bowling is it seems simple, and then boom, you throw that ball and it's 3 lanes over.
The lane is long. A lot can happen between the release and the pins.
Just like in life as a warrior. What I like about this is it's a classic buddy comedy. It kind of made me hungry for just like an Idris Elba goofy comedy guy comedy, kind of like those Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson movies, The Hitman's Bodyguard. That's what it made me think of, but not violent, not a rated R version, but rather a cartoon version. And I thought they had really good chemistry. I think sometimes in these movies where you have human actor and cartoon character, it can be kind of awkward, but I think that Adam Pally plays it very well, and they both have good stakes. We have Knuckles, who is the last Echidna, so he has to find someone to train in the ways of his people, and then we have Adam Pally, who is really trying to prove to himself that he's a warrior.
I thought that worked really well, that they have kind of a common goal that they can help each other with, and I thought it was fun that the animated character, Knuckles, is the more serious one, even if he is kind of silly with his misunderstandings. And then our human is the funny, misunderstood character.
That's true. It does kind of turn Sonic on its head.
Yeah. We can have serious animal aliens.
The other animal-alien relationship that I loved a lot was Ozzy, the dog, and Knuckles. That cracked me up.
Makes sense that the dog would stand out to you in this episode. From one scene, 2 scenes.
He was just so cute. Their little combat scenes together. I would say, stepping away from the dog, which I don't normally like to do, there's also really good combat and special effects in this.
Yes. I thought the action scenes, the battles with the gun agents were really well done. There's a big fight scene towards the end of this pilot episode. And overall, I would say the special effects are on the same level as the Sonic movies.
Which kind of leads me to my one, I think, critique of this story is I didn't quite understand it as a show. I like it and we can get into our ratings, but I more thought that this would be nice as like a 90-minute movie.
It does feel like this could be a good kids movie, just like the Sonic movies. And for probably business reasons, they're stretching it out into a streaming series.
Yes, it doesn't feel like a creative choice. It felt like a pack even more commercials in this one choice. And that was kind of disappointing because they managed to get so much of the original cast back. They got someone as cool as Idris Elba to be Knuckles. And so you have this opportunity to have this cool group of people with these really fantastic special effects and combat scenes. Make a movie. And instead we'll just watch the story play out in a show, which, to get into ratings for Knuckles on Paramount Plus, I would watch again casually. I recommend it to people who like the Sonic story. So I'll see this through. I just wish it were a movie.
I feel exactly the same way. Would watch again casually. I feel like this would be better served as a movie, and I think this would be a fun series to watch if you already like the Sonic universe.
Exactly. So why don't you take things from one buddy concept to another?
You're talking about The Veil on FX on Hulu. This is more of a thriller series about a potentially deadly game of truth and lies as two women, Imogen Salter, played by Elizabeth Moss, and Adilah, played by Yumna Marwan, travel from Istanbul to Paris and more, with one of them possessing a secret the other needs to expose. So, Mitu, this one didn't have that silly, serious combo dynamic. What did you think of the relationship between two very mysterious women?
They're mysterious and they're women. And that is what I got out of this story. There is in the opening scene of the show, a light spoiler, crystal light, like air, cotton candy. We see Imogen put her skills to use and, let's say, put away a bad guy or whom we're supposed to assume is a bad guy. The dialogue that she then engages on the phone in what feels like a one-sided conversation. She says, "All done. No muss, no fuss. I need a day in London, then a flight to Istanbul. I'd like my name to be Imogen." All in one breath. No conversation. It was just like, I need y'all to know I'm a girl boss. I'm a business gal. I'm a spy girl boss on the move. And I just didn't get much else from her character. And then similarly for Adilah, it was just, am I a victim of circumstance? Am I a dangerous person? What's my story? I don't know. You don't know. And that's it.
That is, unfortunately, I don't know how they're going to keep this story going if they don't start revealing those secrets soon, because after this full pilot episode, it's very unclear what's happening. We just know that these two people are traveling together. We know that they seem to have complex histories. They're very skilled in combat and other trainings that could help them survive. But why? What do they want from each other? I don't think we even got hints of that.
No, because even in those flashbacks, which they employ some flashbacks in this pilot episode, they don't really reveal much. And they cut back to the present as if they've just really told you a big secret. Like they'll just have these scenes where it's like, oh, the gravity of what just happened. No, it's truly like the flashback is just the back of a child's head and you kind of see something happen in front of her a couple times and that's it. There's really nothing to it. And it made me more interested in the stories happening around them, which I don't think is the point. And I think that maybe there was an assumption that this would inherently be interesting. Like it is inherently interesting that there's this very mysterious MI6 agent who can go deep undercover and she doesn't even know who she is, let alone for us. And there is this mysterious woman who might have been kidnapped into terrorist or might be some terrorist overlord, and we just don't know. But those stories have been done many times over, so I think there just needed to be something else to add some interest. Or you and I never poo-poo a cliched story. Just do the cliche well.
Exactly. We sometimes criticize CBS for following a model, a tried and true structure, and I think The Veil could benefit from setting up some clear conflict. This is who you root for. This is who you are hesitant or don't trust. But in this series, Imogen and Adilah, I don't know if I can trust either of them, if I should be rooting for either of them. I don't even know what their goals are.
And that could be interesting. You could play that in an interesting way. Unreliable narrators are fun, but in this case, it genuinely felt like nothing happened. We got to the end of the episode, and I felt like I hadn't seen anything. The more interesting conflict were the agents trying to track them, the French agent and the American agent. That was funny to me. But for me, as a viewer of this show, wanting to see two women be bad, to be more interested in the two male agents tracking them, I didn't like that. I didn't like that feeling.
And the male agents have a small amount of screen time, and all they're doing is saying, we got to find Imogen. We got to handle the situation. But that was enough drama and story to pull us in to that scene.
And clarity of dialogue.
Very clear. We needed a little clarity. We needed someone to just straight up say, this is what is happening.
But again, if they kept it super open-ended and vague, fine. But something has to happen. And I just didn't feel like anything happened. There's this long scene where Imogen and Adilah are in a car together. And they're just like, now you tell me a secret. And the other one doesn't reveal anything. And the other one's like, now you tell me a secret. And she don't really reveal anything. And it's like, we can't do this for a whole season. Couldn't even do it for the whole pilot. It felt unsustainable immediately.
Well, with the concern of unsustainability and a lack of satisfying secrets, will you keep watching more episodes of The Veil on FX on Hulu?
I think this is my stop. I think I'm good on The Veil on Hulu. If you are looking for a fun thriller, I would recommend A Killing Eve before I would recommend The Veil.
I agree. I think this is a would not watch again. And it's not even that the production is bad or the acting is bad. It's just this pilot didn't give enough of a hook.
Yes.
Okay, so how about we go from thriller to more comedy?
Well, haha strange, not haha funny.
Haha comedian.
Haha scary.
Haha sad.
You're talking about Baby Reindeer on Netflix. Based on the real life of show creator and star Richard Gadd, he plays a fictionalized version of himself named Donnie. Baby Reindeer is the story of Donnie being nice to the wrong customer, Martha, played by Jessica Gunning, who then develops an obsession with him.
And boy, is that obsession creepy and dark and uncomfortable, and it makes you concerned for Donnie's safety.
And it makes you concerned for his frame of mind in how he is kind of encouraging her. I want to be very careful about not like victim blaming, especially because this is his real life story. But what I think is so dark and sad about this pilot is he's clearly in a tough place in his life, period. And so to have someone who admires him, even if he's scared about it, he's still entertaining her because he just needs someone in his corner.
That's what makes it so uncomfortable, because you understand some of his choices and why he lets her into his life, why he has conversations with her. Mm-hmm. And he then crosses a point where he sees the red flags. These red flags are so large and bright, everybody in the world can see them.
They're spelling out hell.
And yet he's like, she laughs at my jokes.
And she has that distinct laugh that just fills up a room. So, you know, what's a little bit of stalking between friends? What's hundreds of emails every single night?
Okay, can we talk about these creepy emails? Because they also flash up on the screen throughout the episode. So you see to what extent she is watching him.
And what she chooses to spell check and what she doesn't.
That's a good point. And she pretends to send it from an iPhone.
So dark to have sent from my iPhone at the end of her emails when she clearly doesn't have an iPhone. It's such a small detail, but I think it's what really works on this show is these small instances of how creepy this is, the depths of the creepy. And I do want to say Jessica Gunning is so good at as Martha. I was unsettled from moment one.
Now, me too. If you were Donnie and you were talking to Martha.
That's already a shade too far, but go ahead.
I know this is like beyond hypothetical.
Yeah, we're in full make-believe land. Me talking to strangers? Go ahead.
And Martha expresses her feelings towards you. Would you keep talking to her even though you don't feel the same way?
No. But again, I don't want to victim blame, but me, I would not. But I do know, I should say, that people who work in the service industry, you do have to have conversations with odd people a lot. And I was a server for a long time. You do have to chat with people who maybe are a bit off-putting because you want to do a good job and you want them to tip you in return for that good job. Now, where I think this sort of lost the plot for me, or where Donnie started making decisions that really didn't make sense to me, is when Martha got a hold of his email, like we said, and was just sending him hundreds of emails a night. At that point, you have to immediately alert the authorities. But again, it's an indicator of how bleak things are for him, because he doesn't.
Yeah, and I see that. It makes sense why he starts talking to her. She looks lonely in the bar. It's his job to, get business. I feel like, and I agree, I don't want to blame him for his actions or judge him, but I will say I feel like it was his mistake to agree to meet her outside of his place of work.
Yes, I'm not sure what went into that choice, and I haven't seen his one-man show about it. So maybe he explains that. Maybe we get an explanation later in this show. I really didn't understand that.
Yeah, if you just kept this uncomfortable, creepy stalking at work, I feel like it's at least a slightly safer space.
Like a contained environment.
There's witnesses.
That's true. Where we did see her follow him and where he seemed to be happy to find her there is at a comedy show. As a light spoiler, he is a struggling stand-up comedian. She finds herself in the crowd. She unleashes that signature laugh of hers. And this is where it gets further complicated for him, where she's followed him there. That's scary, but she's laughing and it's making the crowd laugh. So it's helping his fledgling career.
And to preface, before that, she looked him up online to find out that he's a comedian, to find videos.
Yeah.
And then found out about a show that he did not tell her about. And it did work out in the end, which I think, unfortunately, he's in such a dark space that he takes that successful show as like a reason to form some sort of friendship with her.
Even after he finds out jarring things about her, he continues to engage her because of the success of that show, because of what her laughter brought to that room. Oof.
And no spoilers for the end of this pilot episode, but she does something where I'm like, come on, this is the biggest red flag you had yet. Like, just please walk away.
I almost fast forwarded, which is maybe the sign of a good, like, really uncomfortable show, where she started to do that thing. And I was like, oh, I actually have to leave the room. I'm in my own house watching my own TV, and yet I feel compelled to leave. Like, let me let y'all have this.
But I want to take Donnie with us. Like, yeah. Come on, Donnie, we got to go.
Come through the screen. Come on. Stop this.
So despite it being very uncomfortable, would you keep watching more episodes of Baby Reindeer on Netflix?
Yes. I think it's so well done. It's so well written. It's so uncomfortable. But I can't watch it seriously. If you are a stronger person than I am, and you probably are, then you can probably watch it again seriously, but I have to take it in doses because I felt a full body discomfort.
I'm on the same page. I think I have to put this at would watch while doing laundry.
Yeah, maybe another activity.
I need to be a little distracted because it's too uncomfortable to be fully engaged with. And just like we were saying before, I want to help Donnie. That's my reaction. That's how real this feels.
Yeah.
And I can only handle but so much of that stress.
Agreed. All right. So why don't you take us from one pressure cooker to another?
You're talking about Fallout on Prime Video. After an apocalyptic nuclear exchange, we're now in the year 2296, and a young woman named Lucy, played by Ella Purnell, leaves her home in Vault 33 to venture out into the dangerous, unforgiving wastelands of the devastated Los Angeles. And along the way, she might meet some other characters, like someone from the Brotherhood of Steel or a ghoul bounty hunter. So, Mitu, what were your impressions of this video game adaptation?
I could follow it, which was thrilling, because sometimes with these shows, I can't follow it. And that's okay to stress that. You know, not everything is for everybody, but this one I could follow. And what was so interesting to me, even having not played the video game, is that we have these 3 different worlds that we've been exposed to. The vaults, which is the very hyper-organized utopia-like society that live in bunkers and have set roles and functions. Then we have the surface people with the gangs. And then we have these like fully lawless bounty hunters. And I love that you get to see different reactions to an apocalyptic scenario. That's always so interesting to me in these stories. Just like we were saying earlier about The Veil. Cliches, when done well, are still great stories. And I love the different cliches of like reacting to an apocalypse with super rigid rules. You are now only the farmer. You are now only the doctor. You are now only this, versus absolute lawlessness. I will slice you open to get to what I want. It's just interesting to see the different reactions to this big bad thing that happened.
And I think they balance those 3 different worlds and stories really well. So we're following Lucy, Maximus, and I guess I'll just call him the Ghoul.
Mm-hmm.
And right now their stories have not overlapped, but it feels obvious that they're probably all going to come together in the future.
For sure.
And I don't mind switching between them right now. I feel like we get enough of each story. We learn their backstory. And I haven't even played the video games. I'm familiar with the franchise, but I got enough to understand this world and follow along with their journeys.
And I cared about each journey. I care about Lucy being a fighter in this vault world, or secretly a fighter, I should say. I thought it was very interesting that she embodied the persona of the world that we saw pre-apocalypse, of this almost 1950s style personality, but underneath is a killer, literally. And then I love the striving in Maximus, like the striving to be part of this Brotherhood of Steel and be one of the lead fighters in it. And then you want to know so much about the Ghoul because there are some scenes in the beginning of the show that make you very curious about why he's there and what his story is. And so I'm very intrigued by each storyline as well. It's not just like, well done. I'm so curious.
That's true. I do care about all 3, I guess we'll call them lead characters, leads of each storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy is definitely the main character, and we get the largest chunk of her story. And I really like how she is bringing us into the world. We're going from the vaults to the outside world where we'll meet other people. And I think they played it really well. It's all connected and it was satisfying, even though it was violent.
There's a scene that rivals Red Wedding.
And this series holds back on some of the blood and gore. It's there, but I think they do limit how messy some of these battles get.
You really think that?
I think it doesn't look as disgusting as it could. They still do disgusting things, but like...
I saw a man's insides go on the outside a few times. I was like, oh, those are intestines. Just right there.
I guess I feel like an R-rated movie could be worse.
And you know what? As a baby, and for my fellow babies, this one is about the extent of the violence. This is actually past the extent of the violence I could take. I did fast forward some of the gorier parts. I had to just scroll on my little iPad.
Yeah, it is violent for sure. There's a long battle scene, and even Lucy, who we find out is very tough and prepared for combat, she has some scenes where she has to take care of her own wounds, and that was very graphic.
That was so graphic. It was so interesting to see her do that versus the beginning of the episode where we see her almost film a commercial, let's say, for the vault and do these like fun little gymnastics. And then we're like, oh no, this is a killer. This is a brutal person who can do brutal things.
We kind of skipped out on it, but she's very sweet. She just wants to do her part in the vault, get married, have a family. She wants to raise her kids with her best friend. And her world changes dramatically, and now she's trying to basically find answers and the person she cares about most.
Ooh, and I wonder if as she finds answers, she'll also uncover things about the vault. And I wonder if Maximus will also uncover things about the Brotherhood of Steel. Because in both worlds, there was a clear set of rules for their societies, but there was not clarity on why. And I think there's a reason we were missing some context. It just seemed too set, if that makes sense. Like, what
Very
are y'all
strict.
hiding?
Like, what happened right after this whole nuclear fallout that led you to come up with these rules and do things this way?
Yes.
These are good questions.
I also loved the side-by-side of the above-ground people playing basketball with literal bricks, and then Lucy doing gymnastics below ground. It's very funny. It's like, we have mats and real sports, and above ground, they're like, we put a basket on a pole and threw a brick at it. Like, it's just kind of tough up there.
It is tough. The nice vaults, I'll just put it that way, look pretty nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, if you had to live in a apocalyptic bunker, they seem to be doing well for themselves.
Of the apocalyptic bunkers you could choose, why not those?
You know, you gotta choose the best of the worst.
So with that, do you want to stay in the vaults or above ground or with the Outlaws with more episodes of Fallout on Prime Video?
I do. I would watch again, seriously. I really like the different storylines and I want to find out how they all converge. How do you feel?
I agree. I think for a show about a video game where I've never played that video game, and for a very violent show, it was still so good and so fun. And I would recommend it to people who like these kind of post-apocalyptic stories. This is a good one. I will watch again casually.
Nice. I've been thinking really hard about your question, and I don't know what my favorite TV adaptation of a video game is. There are a lot of movie ones that I like, but TV, that's tough. So I just won't answer. I'm sorry.
What's your favorite movie adaptation?
Probably the Resident Evil movies, even though they don't do anything related to the video games that well. Ooh, also the Tomb Raider movies are fun.
Yeah, those are really good.
So there you go. But TV, I don't know. Keep trying. Industry.
All right.
Or maybe it'll be Fallout.
Maybe it'll be Fallout. All right. Well, where can people find more episodes of the Pilot Podcast?
You can head to our website at thepilotpodcast.com, and you can follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms.
You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X at The Pilot Pod, and you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, because every other week we do a show recommended by you, our wonderful listeners, to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.